I was always doing stuff to make it feel bigger. And the story, I always try to make bigger than the budget.
Sci-fi genre has seen a lot of mind-bending films like this, especially in a post-Inception world. But I mean, what is it like developing this story, knowing that, there's going to be the inevitable comparisons to this and that while finding your own unique take on the matter?
I've always loved this story. I mean, I started this story 20 years ago. And even though there was, like you say, other movies, I thought for sure someone else was going to come up with the same thing. As soon as it's out in the air, someone else is just going to get the idea. So I thought I needed to have made it back then. But then years and years and years go by, since no one's ever really made this idea. They've done stuff kind of like it, where reality and what's real and what's not. But not this specific idea, not anything with a name of hypnotic, hypnosis. I mean, not even close. So I thought, I got to make this thing, because what I loved about it was the angle was different than the other ones. The angle was it's more like what we do as filmmakers and as storytellers. We create a hypnotic construct for the audience to believe when they walk into a theater. And they pay money to do this. They know willingly that they're going to see actors in a script, but they want to come in, and hopefully you can do it so powerfully that they believe enough in what they're seeing to laugh, cry, recommend it to their friends. And if you do it really well, sometimes they love the characters so much, those characters become closer to them than their own friends. They start putting them up on their wall, like you got back there. Right? It's because they become so real. They want them to be real. That's how far the hypnotic construct could go. So I thought that'd be cool to see that in a movie, very meta, where the audience comes in, they know they're going to watch a movie with Ben Affleck, and they don't realize, as the character is getting lulled into this hypnotic construct, so are we. And as the layers start pulling back and you start seeing behind the curtain, you go, oh, okay, wow, I just got tripped out too. So I thought that was going to be kind of a cool approach and kind of be very, without doing a movie about filmmaking, which would be too inside baseball. I like that. Like, I still get a kick out of walking up to a set after all these years and then looking behind it and seeing the little scaffolding. It's just like, it blows my mind that it feels so real, but it's not. And it's like cardboard and people 100%, when they come to one of my studios to visit, that blows their mind. So I wanted to put that in the movie, but in a way that fit the story and fit what we do as filmmakers and storytellers and what audiences do to themselves for escapism purposes. They want to escape the world. They want to go get lost in some other place. That's why you have such rabid fans for things that aren't real. It's because the construct is very strong to them, and they want that.
It's really interesting to think of it, go back and think on it now through that lens, because now I can totally see how you put that into the film, and I love that. It gives an extra layer of uniqueness to it. But so you mentioned that you've had this idea, you've been working on it for 20 years. How has it changed from when you first came up with it to what the final product is now, would you say?
Right away, I came up with a title. Because I came up with the title first. I was trying to think of a cool Hitchcock title that he hadn't used, and Hypnotic popped in my head. So I said, what movie would he make? What's a title he would use if he had kept making movies for another 10 years? And I thought, Hypnotic. And I thought, what does that mean? I don't want to make a movie about hypnosis. But maybe a hypnotic is someone who has a power way beyond that, and you won't find out what that power is till like the last frame, how far it can go. It just keeps building and breaking the rules of what they think hypnotics are. I thought that could be cool. And I just thought, let's just make a movie that just defies expectations and that has lots of twists and turns. And that was mainly, the drive of it that was how the idea came about. And I never let go of it. I thought it was just a very compelling thing.
Now, one of the things that I love about the film especially is the way it merges sort of the two ranges of filmmaking you've shown throughout the years, the big budget of Alita and the more grounded but stylized efforts of the the mariachi trilogy and stuff like that. And so I'm curious, going into this film and developing the story and putting together the look of it, how much were you thinking about, how big you wanted to go versus how grounded you wanted it to feel, especially given this concept?
So one of my tricks has always been since the beginning, I didn't want anyone to know originally when I was making it for the Spanish market, the mariachi only cost $7,000. I was doing all kinds of tricks to make it look more expensive. I was standing on a ladder to make it look like I had a crane and trying to put a lot of action in so it seemed like I had, and I would only film for a few frames and then cut and move the camera so it looked like I had multiple cameras. I was always doing stuff to make it feel bigger. And the story, I always try to make bigger than the budget. So if you have I like working with smaller and medium-sized budgets because you get more creative freedom. The studio's not going to give you a hassle over that. It's when you're spending a lot more money that they want their money back. They're going to want you to end it a certain way. They're going to want to make certain things clear. They're going to want certain actors in it. I prefer the freedom. So whenever I come up with a movie of my own, whether it be a Desperado type thing or a Machete type thing or this type of thing, I try to come up with an idea, or Spy Kids, an idea that's really big, and then do it for a smaller, medium-sized budget. So no matter how little money you end up with, the idea is still so big, it grows in your head, and you just think, wow, this big world. Like if I just say children are spies, and you put sunglasses on them, you can make that thing for $5, and they already look like spies. A few sound effects as they hold up a gadget that's not really a gadget, and it's already satisfying it. So the idea just has to be really huge. So for this, even as the COVID shut us down and we kept losing money and having to shoot it faster and faster, and even my crew was like, "Are you sure we can get away with just pipes and a sign? Is that going to work?" And then a golf cart. I'm like, "Yeah, it'll make the Hypnotic look even more powerful. That he's so powerful that's all he needs." That's not what our original plan was. It just had to change. So a lot of things ended up changing over time. So the things that changed, I think was your question, was not really. I had the title right away. I had things like the bank heist. I had the scissor scene. I had one of the twists. I didn't have all the twists at the end. I needed more time to live to realize I wanted more family aspect in this one. So how do I twist it around again so that this can happen? That was fun to come up with that. I was like, oh, wow, no one will see that one coming. So that was one that I'm glad we had more time to film it. In fact, the delays helped because I don't think we would have had this cast. We would have had this set of circumstances. We wouldn't have had the COVID thing that actually made the movie better by us being more creative with a big idea still, but less means to make it, made you sell the idea better because it helps you crystallize what your idea is in as little steps as possible and with as little bloat as possible. And I think that's what also makes it fun, is it's such an efficient little thriller. I mean, you expect from a movie like this, okay, I'm going to be in there 2.5 hours. You're out of there in 90 minutes. It's like there wasn't time to film anything more. But I think it worked in its favor. It made it like feel like a bullet train in comparison, to some movies.
Well, and then it leaves me wanting more from the world, which you clearly.
Oh, did you see that? Yeah. I was hoping that wasn't too far into the credits for people to see, because it's not a Marvel movie. It's not like people necessarily going to hang around for credits, but I'm glad you saw it because that's one of my favorite. But that's a $2 trick and a half. The actors were like, "How the sun was going in? How are we doing this?" And I filmed it on my iPhone and said, "Here, reach down. Okay, now you switch places. Okay, you come up." And I showed it to them. And they thought they were seeing things. I said, "No, it's going to work. It's going to work good. It's just an edit. No one will see it coming."